Why do I like to do it this way? Why do I like to find the car? Well, because there is actually a very cool utility that is built in. This is another utility here. It's called pop. It's actually quite a bit complex, but it brings in a library called Sweet Alerts. And this Sweet Alerts library actually lets us essentially introduce messages to the user. So we can actually say something like deleted car down in here. So if I got rid of my VW Beetle, it gives us a little thing, a little message here that says deleted car. But I can be a bit more specific. I can actually say deleted. I can string interpolate car to delete, make car to delete model. That way when I actually go and delete a car, it says deleted Honda Civic, right? So it gives me just a little bit more of a personalized message that I can kind of see. Okay, what happens if I made a mistake? I click this delete button, my car's gone forever. It's actually gone forever. I refresh the page. Oh no, right? A good user experience is for us to actually verify that the user intends to delete something whenever they're going to destroy data that can't come back, right? So there's something that we can actually do and we should be doing inside of our delete car process. And that is essentially confirming with the user of their action, right? So there's a really simple way that we can do this, which is really nice. We can do something like const confirm equals confirm. This is actually a built-in function. Are you sure you want to delete this car? This cannot be undone. Okay, and maybe say deleting, and we can pass this confirmed through, right? So now if I go to delete a car, like the Volkswagen Bug, we'll get a little window that says, are you sure you want to delete this car? This cannot be undone. Currently, this doesn't do anything. If I hit cancel, the Volkswagen Bug is gone, right? But what we'll see is that we did get deleting false. I did not confirm my action, okay? So what we do is we probably break up before we get to the service. We probably need to say if confirmed is false, return, right? If they did not confirm this, cancel this action. So now I can say delete the Honda Civic. Are you sure you want to delete this car? This cannot be done. And then we might hit cancel. My car is still there. If I refresh, go delete the Honda Civic. Are you sure you want to delete this car? Okay, the car's actually gone. I have no cars now. Let's go put that Honda Civic back in there though. Maybe we'll go put in another car. I have no car. I have no idea what car this is. It's a black Toyota vehicle, 2024. Post that in there, right? That's a Honda. That's not even Toyota. I at least know what the logo is, but whatever, right? So that's a really important user experience, is that someone is confirming that destructive action. That is a very, very important thing to do. Okay, let's spruce this up a little bit more. I'd like to actually show something off that's a tiny bit more complex, or it's a little bit nicer, right? We did kind of create this generate ID. I do want to show another thing off though. This dot listing date, right? I want to essentially use another built-in function that we have, or a built-in class, and that is the date class. The date class is actually super, super cool, and it can actually do all sorts of great displays and functionality here. So why don't we, right under this price, we're going to use a small, which should be used quite sparingly, because it basically just makes small text. We're going to say class, I want to say it's texts secondary, and let's put in, oops, don't need two brackets, sorry. We're going to put in our this dot listing date, okay? And we just see what that comes out as. Essentially, this date class creates this very dense, rich object for right now. So, it's current time, current place, right? And my time zone. And that gives me a lot of information. And this could be really great, especially if, I not only wanted to know the year of the vehicle, but how long this vehicle was actually been listed for or when it got listed on this website. So this date can be super useful for this, but this date also has kind of a very wild and wacky default view here, okay? Now, the date has tons and tons of different methods built onto it. Get date, get day, get full year, get hours, get minutes, get milliseconds, get time zone. Lots and lots and lots of stuff on here so that we can kind of format it in another way. It does have a very nice kind of getter kind of for it though, or its own kind of method. And we can build a getter to essentially format this date in a much nicer way. So we'll call this the get date formatted. Formatted. Okay, and we are going to return this dot listing date dot get, let's see, what is it? toLocale, it's either date string or time string. And this essentially takes in an object, min-cast first, hour cycle. It might not be date, let's say day. I think it is toLocale time string. This takes in a weekday. Let's go look at this. toLocale time string. Yeah, I think this is the right one I want. English US. Oh, that's right. We need EN US. Yep, just like that. Probably date string works in a very similar way. And then you need an object like weekday, long, year, 2-digit, month, short. Something along those lines. Instead of saying listing date, date formatted. Now we get August 24th, Wednesday at 9:73 right there. If we change this to date string, toLocale date string, there we go. August 24th, Wednesday. We could probably even leave off the weekday entirely. Just say that this was posted on August, that says August 2004. So we probably do want something. We probably don't want the weekday, but we probably can do the, I think it's day, numeric, what does that look like? August 28th, 24. All right, year, what comes in here? Numeric is the full one, August 28th, 2004. That's not bad. Weekday, what the heck is narrow? What is narrow versus short? W? Short, Wednesday, August 20th. I think that looks pretty nice. There's a lot of stuff that you can pass in here. This is just a very brief kind of like overview of it. But let's also put in let's also look at what might happen if this was our time string. Just because this is going to put this time in, and that actually makes this a bit more obvious of what problems we might actually occur with this date. Both of these cars were listed at 9:55:25 a.m., right? And let's just say that that's fine because I'm testing all these things right now. I go find another car, another Honda. I guess I searched Honda Civics, so I guess these are all Honda Civics. Submit, right? This car was posted at 9:56. That's the time right now, right? So we do have a little bit of difference between our times here. What happens when I refresh my page? Now every car was posted at 9:56, and you'll actually see that this time actually advanced by 16 seconds. If I actually keep going, every time I refresh my page, the listing date of these cars actually updates. This isn't actually telling me when the car was created. This is telling me essentially what time the page first loaded. And that's because our constructor is just creating a new date every single time the car is loaded. And because we're pulling these cars out of local storage, we're creating new cars over and over and over and over again, which is recreating this date, right? If you remember in our car service, this load has to map new cars because it's pulling those strings out. So it is creating a new listing date every single time, even though if we look in here, there is a listing date which is kind of stringified in a way that is unique to it. But every time I refresh my page, I'm not actually looking at the data, I'm just creating a new date, right? So we could consider maybe that we want to do something similar with our image URL. We could say, well, if there is a listing date, use that, or the new date. But then we run into an issue. Oh, I have to include this in here as well. Listing date. I'm just going to do star for right now. It could be anything. So something that we could do is we could take in that listing date to try and get those other properties, but then we're going to run into this issue of the fact that this toLocalTimeString is no longer a function. So why is it getting really angry at us? Why can't it run the date formatted? Well, if we just accept the time string, it's a literal string and not an actual date string. What the heck does that mean, right? If we go back here and look at this and look at one of these cars, that date string is a much different thing. It is an object with all of these different properties on it. If we just look at the listing date, when we take either, it turns into a literal string. Again, that is because when we save something into local storage, it gets stringified, it gets stripped of its class, and then we have to pull that information back out and reclassify it. That goes the same for the date, or essentially a nested class in our car class, right? Our car class not only got turned into a string and all of its information got removed, or all of its classification got removed when we pulled it back out, the same thing happens to our date property. So we actually have to write this in a little bit different of a way. We basically have to say, we're going to use a ternary here. We're actually going to kind of present this listing date with a question. And that's, is there a listing date, right? Do you have a listing date? As in, you're coming from local storage and you have this string here? If you do, let's classify the data.listingDate, okay? Or, if you don't, let's make a new date. So in this case, we're essentially saying, when I go to make a car, do you have a listing date data? Do you have one of those? If you do, I'm going to turn you back into the class of listing date. If you don't, you're coming from the form and someone's not putting that in, I will create a new one for you. So now we can actually already see that our dates have updated again. It's 9:56, 9:55. If I create one more new car here, we'll use this teal one, Honda Civics again. We'll go find kind of that tealish kind of color. Price, $50, sure. I hit submit. See, this one was one day, August at 10. All these other ones are at 9:55. And if I refresh, it respects that listing date because it can either pull it from local storage and convert it, or it sees that there wasn't one and it creates a new one. This statement is called a ternary statement, and it's basically a question, if true, if false, right? It's a very quick inline if statement essentially, right? And it works for small values instead of longer expressions of code. But you're essentially kind of saying, if you have a listing date, then this listing date will equal new date. Otherwise, this listing date will equal a new date. So it's kind of flipping out which value will go there based on this property here, which is pretty sweet. Cool. Let's show off one more little cool kind of thing. It's a little bit of custom CSS. I'm gonna go ahead and say that I don't like this button here. So what I'm actually gonna do is I'm gonna come into my style CSS and go to my delete button, I think is what I called it. Background color red. Important. Yeah, something like that. Okay, so I am targeting the right thing. But what I really want to do is I want to change this to pointer events none. What this actually does is it makes it so that you can no longer click on this button. There's a CSS property that makes buttons unclickable. Why would I want to do this? Opacity 0. The button is gone. That's an ugly looking button. So let's make it only show up when I actually hover over the card. So what I could do is I could do card hover delete button opacity 1. So now when I hover over the card, the inner delete button should show up. Oh wait, no, sorry. The delete button next to the card should show up, right? And then really what I can do is I can do pointer events all, and then I can essentially click on these again. Oh no, but if I hover over the card now, I'm no longer hovering over that. I think I don't want to do the plus here. I think I want to technically hover over the column. Where did I put this in? Column 6, position relative. Let's do the, let's just make this class car. And then we'll just say, if you're hovering over the car, whoops. Show me the delete button. There we go. Cool. Yeah. Sweet. So now that button kind of shows up as I hover over it. Should you want to do this? This can't be undone. We can also get a little fancy with it. Transition all 0.2 seconds keys. So you see that button kind of go in there real fast. We can even do something a little crazy here, right? Where maybe the top is like 10 pixels and the top here is 0 pixels. That's pretty hard to see. Maybe you don't want to do the top. Let's do transform translate y, and we'll do 10 pixels and 0 pixels. That's cool. Yeah, that button kind of hovers up like that. What's interesting is you can actually also apply a delay to this. So now it only shows up after you've essentially hovered over the card for a certain amount of time. So if someone's just moving their mouse around, they won't see anything, but if they stay there for a little bit, then it pops up. Half a second might be too quick. I don't know, you maybe kind of feel out what feels right. But that does kind of allow you to have a slightly nicer kind of feel here to kind of this button, especially if that button is, in your opinion, like my opinion, that button is ugly, right? And that all kind of works there. But yeah, kind of nice to spruce it up just a tiny bit.